That night in that crowded New York restaurant, my daughter hung her head as tears fell into the white tablecloth. And I understood that there are silences that kill. My name is Nerissa Caldwell. I am 58 years old, a mother, a former wife, and for a long time I believed that maintaining family peace was the most important thing in the world. But that night, something broke inside me. It all started with a reservation, a family dinner to celebrate my grandson's birthday. One of those fancy downtown restaurants with linen tablecloths and lit candles on every table. My daughter Olivia had insisted that we all go together. She, her husband Robert, his parents, and me. Since I became a widow 3 years ago, Olivia always makes sure to include me. She is my only child, the light of my eyes, a sweet, educated woman with a brilliant career as an architect, which she put on pause when my grandson was born. I arrived early at the restaurant that night. I was wearing a navy blue dress that my late husband gave me on our last anniversary. In my purse, a handkerchief embroidered with my mother's initials. I always carry it with me. It's my connection to the women who came before me, the women who also learned to keep quiet. Olivia arrived shortly after. I saw her walk in arm in arm with Robert, and something about her face unsettled me. She was smiling, yes, but it was that tight smile a mother recognizes from a mile away. She wore a long-sleeved sweater despite the May heat. "Mom?" She greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. Her lips were trembling. "Honey, are you all right?" "Of course, Mom, just tired." Robert greeted me with that cold cordiality that I had always found strange. A handsome man from a good family, a successful engineer, the kind of son-in-law any mother would approve of, or so I thought. Robert's parents arrived. Mr. Armstrong, a heavy-set man in his late 60s with a growly voice and abrupt manners. Mrs. Susan, quiet, always 2 steps behind her husband, her gaze lost somewhere undefined. We sat down and ordered dinner. Everything was proceeding normally until Olivia made a mistake. A mistake so small, so insignificant, it shouldn't even be called that. She ordered red wine instead of white. "Olivia," Robert said with that controlled voice that chills the blood, "you know perfectly well that I ordered fish. Red wine doesn't pair with it." "I'm sorry, honey. I didn't think." "You never think." The server froze with the glass in his hand. "It doesn't matter. I intervened. We can change it, right?" Mr. Armstrong let out a dry laugh. "Leave it, Nerissa. Robert is right. Women today don't even know how to order a glass of wine." I swallowed. Olivia lowered her gaze. And that was when I saw something that chilled me to the soul. As she reached for the bread, the sleeve of Olivia's sweater rode up just a few inches, barely enough. On her wrist were marks, yellowish bruises, trying to heal the prints of fingers. My heart stopped for a second. Olivia. She immediately pulled the sleeve down, covering herself, her eyes pleading, "It's nothing, Mom." But I knew a mother always knows. The dinner continued amidst forced conversation. I barely touched my food. I watched every gesture Robert made toward my daughter. Every time she flinched slightly when he got too close, every cutting word disguised as a joke. And then the moment came. The server brought the wrong dessert to the table. A simple mistake, pecan pie instead of cheesecake. Robert snapped his fingers to call the server. "Is this how you work here?" My wife ordered cheesecake. "Honey, it doesn't matter," Olivia whispered. "Can I just eat the pecan pie?" "It doesn't matter." Robert's voice rose. "Are you always going to be such a conformist?" "Robert, please, you always embarrass me." And then it happened. In a swift, brutal movement, Robert reached out and grabbed Olivia by the hair. He yanked her head back hard. The entire restaurant fell silent. My daughter did not scream. She only let out a muffled sob as tears began to roll down her cheeks. And in that terrifying silence, Mr. Armstrong's voice rang out loud, clear, clapping. "That's how it's done, son. That's how it's done." She needs to know her place. Olivia hung her head. Her shoulders were trembling. Mrs. Susan stared at her plate as if nothing was happening. And I I felt something inside me shatter, something that had been cracking for years as I watched my daughter become smaller, quieter, and more absent. My hands trembled on the table. My blood turned to ice. And then I did something. I stood up. Before I tell you what I did that night, I need you to understand something. I need you to know the Olivia I raised. Because what I saw in that restaurant was not my daughter. It was a shadow, a ghost of the brilliant woman she had been. Olivia was born on a spring morning 32 years ago. She came into the world crying loudly, her fists clenched as if she already knew that life requires a fight. My husband, Edward, held her in his arms and told me, "This girl is going to change the world, Nerissa. I can see it in her eyes." And he was right. Olivia was always a curious, intelligent, persistent child. The kind who takes apart toys to understand how they work. The kind who asks 1,000 questions and is not satisfied with vague answers. I remember that when she was 8 years old, she built a birdhouse with pieces of wood she found in the garage. It wasn't perfect, but it had a solid roof and firm walls. "See, Mom," she said proudly. "Birds need a safe place, too." She grew up loving architecture. She spent hours drawing houses, buildings, bridges. She said she wanted to create spaces where people felt protected, where they could breathe. She studied on scholarships, graduated with honors, got a job at one of the most prestigious firms in the city, earned her own money, had her own apartment, her own life. She was independent. She was happy. She was free. And then she met Robert. At first, everything seemed perfect. He was attentive, thoughtful, polite. He arrived with flowers, took her out to dinner at fancy restaurants, sent her sweet texts during the day. My daughter glowed when she talked about him. "Mom, I think he's the one," she told me one afternoon while we were having coffee in my kitchen. I looked at her bright eyes and smiled. "If you're happy, honey, I'm happy." The wedding was beautiful. A garden full of white roses, a lace dress that Olivia had designed herself, soft music, promises of eternal love. Edward had already passed away by then, but I felt his presence there. I walked my daughter down the aisle and placed her hand in Robert's. "Take care of her," I told him. "With my life," he replied, smiling. The first few months were good, or so it seemed. Olivia kept working, although Robert insisted it wasn't necessary. "I earn enough for both of us," he would say. "You can stay home and relax." "But I like my job," she would reply. "Don't you like being with me?" Small phrases, small comments, nothing that seemed alarming at the time. But the seeds of control were already planted. When Olivia got pregnant, everything changed. Robert insisted she quit her job. "It's dangerous for the baby," he argued. "Too much stress, too many hours on your feet, you need to rest." Olivia hesitated. She loved her career, but she also loved the baby growing inside her. "Maybe just for a while," she told me, seeking my approval. "I can go back after the delivery. Whatever you decide, honey, but don't let anyone decide for you." She smiled. But something in that smile was no longer the same. My grandson was born one early morning in December, a beautiful, healthy baby with his mother's dark eyes. Olivia named him Matthew after my father. Robert was ecstatic. He organized a huge party to introduce the baby. He invited all his family, his friends, his work colleagues. Olivia looked tired. She had a difficult delivery. She was still recovering, but Robert wanted to celebrate. "Just a couple of hours," he told her. "It's important to me." She agreed. She always agreed. I went to that party. I watched my daughter move among the guests with Matthew in her arms, smiling politely, answering the same questions over and over. "How's the baby? Is he sleeping well? Are you breastfeeding?" Robert didn't hold his son once that afternoon. He was busy toasting with his friends, telling jokes, receiving congratulations, and I saw something in Olivia's eyes I had never seen before. Exhaustion. But not the exhaustion of the body. The exhaustion of the soul. The weeks passed, the months. Olivia did not go back to work. Robert said that Matthew needed her at home, that a mother shouldn't leave her child with strangers, that she had studied so much, worked so hard, that she deserved to rest. Besides, he would add, I earn enough, you don't need to work. Olivia stopped mentioning her work. She stopped drawing. She stopped talking about her dreams. When I visited her, she was always cleaning something, cooking, organizing, taking care of Matthew. The house was spotless, too spotless. How are you, honey? I would ask. Fine, Mom. Everything is fine. But I knew it wasn't. A mother always knows. I started noticing small things. How Olivia anxiously checked her phone every time it rang. How she tensed up when she heard Robert's car arrive. How she constantly apologized for everything. I'm sorry, Mom. The house is messy. I'm sorry I didn't make enough food. I'm sorry Matthew's crying. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. As if her very existence was an inconvenience. One day I arrived without warning. I knocked on the door several times before Olivia opened it. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She had deep dark circles under her eyes, a milk stain on her blouse. Mom, I didn't know you were coming. That's why I came. I walked into the house. Matthew was sleeping in his crib. Everything was silent. Where's Robert? At work. He has a lot of meetings this week. And you? When was the last time you left this house? Olivia was quiet. Then she shrugged. I don't need to go out, Mom. I have everything I need here. Everything? She avoided my gaze. I made coffee. We sat in the kitchen. I took her hands. They were cold despite the warmth. Honey, you can talk to me. You can always talk to me. I know, Mom. Are you happy? Silence. A silence so long, so heavy that I felt like I was suffocating. I'm tired, she finally replied. But all mothers are tired, right? It wasn't an answer. It was an evasion, but I didn't push. Sometimes the silence of a daughter is louder than the questions of a mother. The months continued to pass. Matthew grew. He learned to crawl, to walk, to say his first words. Olivia dedicated herself to him completely. Too completely, as if he was the only thing she had left. Robert worked more and more hours, or so he said. He came home late, left early. He traveled constantly for business. Olivia didn't complain. She never complained. It's his job, Mom. He has a lot of responsibilities. I watched my daughter fade away, stop laughing, stop dreaming, stop being Olivia. And I didn't know what to do because when a daughter smiles and says she's fine, a mother wants to believe her. She needs to believe her. Even if deep down, she knows the truth. One afternoon, while I was watching Matthew so Olivia could rest, I found something. I was looking for a bib in the kitchen drawer when I saw an envelope hidden among the placemats. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. Inside were photographs. Photographs that Olivia had taken of her own arms, her wrists, her neck, bruises, marks, evidence. My world stopped. I felt the floor open beneath my feet. I put the envelope back exactly where I had found it. I finished watching Matthew. I waited for Olivia to wake up from her nap. When she came downstairs, I looked her in the eyes. Honey, I need you to tell me the truth. She turned pale. What are you talking about, Mom? You know what I'm talking about. Her eyes filled with tears. She shook her head. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Robert's under a lot of stress. Work, responsibilities, pressure. Sometimes he loses control. But he loves me, Mom. He loves me. Love doesn't hurt Olivia. All marriages have problems. These aren't problems. This is violence. She hugged herself as if protecting herself from my words. I can't leave him, Mom. I have a son, a family. What are people going to say? What will his family think? And what about you? What about your life? My life is my family. I broke down. I knelt in front of her and took her hands in mine. Honey, please come home with me. You and Matthew, just for a while to think clearly. I can't, Mom. Robert needs me. He's going to change. He promised me. How many times has he promised you? Silence. That damn silence. Olivia pulled her hands away from mine and stood up. Thanks for watching, Matthew, Mom. But it's getting late. Robert will be home soon, and I need to make dinner. I left that house with a broken heart. I couldn't sleep that night. I hugged my mother's embroidered handkerchief and cried. I cried for my daughter, for her lost bravery, for her buried dreams, for the brilliant woman she had been, who now lived in fear. And I swore I would find a way to help her, even if she wasn't ready to ask for help yet. Because a mother never gives up. Never. 6 more months passed. 6 months of forced smiles, brief calls, constant excuses. Olivia always had a reason not to visit me, not to go out, not to live. And then the invitation arrived. A family dinner to celebrate Matthew's birthday at a fancy downtown restaurant with the entire family present. I agreed to go, although something in my chest warned me that this night would be different. I didn't know how much, but a mother always senses when the storm is coming. Sometimes we trust those we shouldn't too much. Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read it. The night of the dinner arrived with a light rain, those fine drops that wet silently, like silent tears from the sky. I got ready carefully. The navy blue dress, a discreet pearl necklace, comfortable shoes. I put my mother's embroidered handkerchief in my purse as always. I touched it with my fingers before closing the clasp. "Give me strength, Mom," I whispered. I arrived at the restaurant 15 minutes before the agreed-upon time. I've always been punctual. It's one of those things Edward valued about me. "Nerissa, one never has to wait for you," he would say, smiling. How much I missed him. How much I needed his presence that night. The restaurant was elegant. White tablecloths, silver cutlery, lit candles on every table, soft background music, the kind of place where people speak in low voices and servers walk without making noise. I sat down at the reserved table, a large round table near the window. From there, I could see the wet street, the cars passing, the people walking under their umbrellas. I ordered a glass of water and waited. Olivia arrived shortly after. I saw her walk in arm with Robert, and something in my stomach tightened. She was wearing a beige dress with small flowers, discreet, almost childish. It wasn't her style. Olivia had always preferred strong colors, modern designs, clothes that spoke of her personality. But this woman walking toward me seemed to want to disappear. Her hair was pulled back in a low bun without a single strand out of place. Her makeup was perfect but excessive, as if she were trying to cover something. And her eyes were dim. "Mom," she greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. She smelled of expensive perfume and fear. "Honey, it's good to see you." I hugged her. I felt her bones too pronounced under the dress. She had lost weight. "Where is Matthew?" I asked. "With a sitter," Robert replied before she could speak. "This is an adult dinner. The child would be restless." I didn't say anything, but it seemed strange. It was Matthew's birthday. Why celebrate without him? Robert pulled out the chair for Olivia. She sat down carefully as if every movement required permission. "You look beautiful, Mom," Olivia said, forcing a smile. "You too, honey." A lie. She looked tired, hollow-eyed, fragile. Robert sat down next to her and immediately picked up his phone. He started checking emails, answering messages, completely oblivious to our presence. Olivia looked at her hands in her lap. "How have you been, Mom?" she asked softly. "Fine, honey. Busy with the garden. The roses are blooming beautifully this year. That's nice. You should come see them, you and Matthew. We could spend the afternoon together." She hesitated. "Yes, Mom. Soon. Soon. That word that never comes. And you? How are you?" "Fine. Busy with the house with Matthew." "Just that." She looked at me for a second. Just 1 second. I saw something in her eyes. A silent plea. A choked cry. But then Robert looked up from his phone. "Olivia is perfectly fine, Nerissa. She has everything she needs. A beautiful house, a healthy son, a husband who works hard to give her a good life. I don't doubt that, Robert." He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Robert's parents arrived." Mr. Armstrong entered the restaurant as if he owned the place. Loud voice, abrupt manners, a presence that took up more space than necessary. Mrs. Susan walked behind him, quiet, looking down, a shapeless gray dress and worn shoes. "Family!" Mr. Armstrong exclaimed, opening his arms. Robert immediately stood up and hugged his father. Olivia stood up too, but kept to the side, waiting. "Olivia," Mr. Armstrong said, looking her up and down. "Thinner every day. Isn't my son feeding you?" "I'm fine, Mr. Armstrong." "Good. Good. Women and their diets." Mrs. Susan greeted me with a nod. We all sat down. The server arrived with the menus. "Good evening. Can I get you something to drink while you decide?" "Whiskey double," Mr. Armstrong ordered. "And bring a picture of water with ice." "White wine for me?" Robert said. "White wine for me too," I added. The server looked at Olivia. "And for you, ma'am?" Olivia hesitated. She looked at the menu. Then she looked at Robert. "White wine too?" she asked as if asking for permission. He didn't even look at her. "Whatever you want." She took a breath. "Red wine, please." And there it was. That moment so small, so insignificant, so absurdly trivial. Robert looked up from his phone slowly, like a predator who has just spotted movement. "Red wine?" Olivia blinked. "Yes." "Why?" "I'm ordering fish. Red wine doesn't pair with fish." "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think about that. Can I change it?" "You never think." The words fell like stones onto the table. The server froze, notebook in hand, unsure what to do. I intervened. "It doesn't matter. Olivia can order whatever she wants, right? We're not taking a smell exam." I tried to sound light, casual, but my voice came out tight. Mr. Armstrong let out a dry laugh. "Leave it, Nerissa. Robert is right. Women today don't even know how to order a glass of wine. In my day, wives would first ask what their husband was ordering before requesting anything, Mrs. Susan lowered her gaze to her lap. Olivia shrunk in her chair. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'll switch to white wine." "Honey, you don't have to. White wine is fine, Mom." The server quickly wrote it down and backed away as if escaping a fire. I stayed quiet. I swallowed. I felt my mother's handkerchief in my purse like an anchor. The conversation continued. Mr. Armstrong talked about politics, business, how much he had achieved in his life. Robert nodded, commented, laughed at the appropriate times. Mrs. Susan ate in silence. Olivia pushed the food around on her plate without taking a bite. I watched every detail. How Olivia kept her hands on the table visible as if she needed to prove she wasn't doing anything wrong. How she flinched every time Robert spoke loudly. How she constantly checked her phone anxiously. And then I saw it as she reached out for the bread basket. The long sleeve of her dress went up just a few inches, barely enough. On her wrist were marks, bruises in different stages of healing, some yellowish, others greenish, some still purple. Clear, unmistakable finger marks. My blood froze. "Olivia?" She noticed my gaze. Immediately, she pulled the sleeve down, covering herself, her eyes filled with panic. "It's nothing, Mom," she whispered. "It's nothing, Mom." "Please," Robert noticed the exchange. "Is something wrong?" "No," Olivia replied quickly. "Nothing. Everything's fine." He narrowed his eyes. Then he smiled. "Nerissa." "More wine." "No, thank you." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab my daughter and run out of there. I wanted to call the police, a lawyer, anyone. But Olivia looked at me with pleading eyes. "Not now, please, not now." So I stayed quiet, and I hated myself for it. The dinner continued. The main course arrived. Fish for Robert, chicken for Mr. Armstrong, salad for Olivia. "Just salad?" Mr. Armstrong asked. "Dieting again?" "I'm not very hungry," she replied. "Women and their silly habits," he commented, shaking his head. Mrs. Susan didn't say anything. She just cut her food into small pieces and ate mechanically like a robot. Robert talked to his father about a work project, a new building in the financial district, a major investment. "It could be the project of my career," Robert was saying. "I hope so, son. It's time you stopped being second and were first." "I know, Dad. I'm working on it." "Good. A man should be the best in everything, at work, at home, in life. That's right." Olivia moved her fork over the salad without eating. I tried to breathe normally, and then the dessert arrived. The server brought a tray with different options. Mr. Armstrong ordered pecan pie. Robert ordered cheesecake. Mrs. Susan said she didn't want anything. I ordered coffee. The server looked at Olivia. "And for you, ma'am, cheesecake too, please." The server nodded and walked away. A few minutes later, he returned with a tray. Pecan pie for Mr. Armstrong, coffee for me, and 2 plates of cheesecake, except that one wasn't cheesecake. It was pecan pie. The server placed it in front of Olivia. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I ordered cheesecake. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me change it for you." "No, it doesn't matter," she said quickly. "I can eat the pecan pie. No problem. Mom, it's no trouble. Seriously, it's fine." But Robert had already raised his hand. "Excuse me." The server approached nervously. "Yes, sir. Is this how you work here? Do you bring whatever you feel like?" "I'm very sorry, sir." "It was a mistake. Can I change it?" "My wife ordered cheesecake." "Robert, it doesn't matter," Olivia whispered. "Really? I can eat the pecan pie." He turned to her. "It doesn't matter." His voice was low, controlled, but there was something underneath, something dark. "Honey, it's just dessert. Are you always going to be such a conformist?" "I'm not being conformist. You always embarrass me." His voice rose. Nearby tables began to look over. "Robert, please, people are watching." "I don't care what people think." And then it happened. In a swift, brutal, unexpected movement, Robert reached out and grabbed Olivia by the hair. By the hair! He yanked her head back hard. The entire restaurant fell silent. A silence so dense, so absolute that I could hear my own heart beating. Olivia did not scream. She did not defend herself. She only let out a muffled sob, a sound that came from the deepest part of her soul as tears began to roll down her cheeks. Her hands clung to the table. Trembling, her neck was twisted at an unnatural angle and no one moved. The server froze. The diners looked, but no one intervened. Mrs. T. Susan looked down at her plate as if nothing was happening. And in that terrifying silence, in that moment frozen in time, a voice rang out loud, clear, clapping. "Mr. Armstrong, that's how it's done, son," he shouted, hitting the table with an open palm. "That's how it's done. She needs to know her place. A woman who doesn't respect her husband needs to be taught." "Well done!" Robert let go of Olivia's hair. She slumped back in her chair, her shoulders shaking, her hands covering her face. She was crying silently, like someone who has learned that her tears don't matter. And I felt something inside me break, something that had been holding me together, keeping me calm, controlled, polite, something that shattered into 1,000 pieces. My hands trembled on the table. My blood turned to ice and fire at the same time. I felt my mother's handkerchief in my purse. I felt Edward's presence beside me. I felt all the women in my family, all those who kept quiet, all those who endured, all those who didn't have a voice. And I stood up. As I tell all this, I think about where you might be listening to me. Write the name of your city in the comments. I stood up, and in that moment, the whole world seemed to stop. All eyes turned to me. The diners, the servers, the restaurant manager watching from the entrance. Robert looked at me with surprise, Mr. Armstrong with contempt, Mrs. Susan with fear, and Olivia. Olivia looked at me with pure panic. "No, Mom, please don't." I could read her thoughts as if she were screaming them. But there was something stronger than my daughter's fear. There was something that had been growing inside me for years. Since the first time I noticed the change in her eyes, since the first excuse, since the first bruise she tried to hide. Years of silence, years of ignored signs, years of believing it wasn't my place to intervene. But that night the silence ended. I extended my hand toward Olivia. "Honey, stand up!" My voice came out firm, firmer than I felt inside. Olivia shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Mom, no, stand up." "Nerissa!" Robert intervened with that controlled voice that was scarier than shouting. I think you're misunderstanding the situation. Misunderstanding. It was a moment of tension, nothing more. Olivia knows that sometimes I get nervous. It's work stress. She understands. I looked at my daughter. She nodded. She nodded her head like a broken puppet. It's true, Mom. It was a difficult moment. Robert has a lot of pressure at work. I understand. You understand? Yes. You understand him pulling your hair in public? Mom, please. You understand him humiliating you in front of all these people? He didn't humiliate me. Olivia, my voice cracked. The entire restaurant was watching us. Mr. Armstrong wiped his mouth with his napkin and stood up too. Nerissa, I think it's better if you calm down. You're making a scene. This is a family matter between husband and wife. We don't need your drama. Drama? Yes. Women of your generation always exaggerate everything. A little discipline never hurt anyone. Look at my Susan. 50 years of marriage and never a problem because she knows her place. I looked at Mrs. Susan. She was still sitting motionless, her gaze lost somewhere on the tablecloth. 50 years, bars of silence. And suddenly, I understood everything. I understood why Robert was the way he was. I understood where that cruelty disguised as politeness came from. I understood that this violence had deep roots, generations of silenced women, of men who believed they had rights over them. Mr. Armstrong, I said slowly, with all due respect, you are not going to tell me how to raise my daughter or how to protect her. You don't need to protect her from her own husband. Oh, I don't. I walked toward Olivia. She tried to back away, but there was no more room. I gently took her arm. Forgive me, honey. Mom. No. I pulled up the sleeve of her dress. There they were, the bruises, the marks in different shades of yellow, green, purple. Some recent, others older. Clear finger marks on her wrist, pressure marks on her forearm. I held them up so everyone could see. This, I said loudly, so every person in that restaurant could hear me. This is not work stress. This is not a moment of tension. This is not discipline. My voice was trembling, but I didn't stop. This is violence. This is abuse, and this will never be kept silent again. Olivia tried to pull her arm free, sobbing, Mom, please, you're embarrassing me. I'm embarrassing you. The words hurt more than anything. Robert stood up abruptly, knocking his chair backward. That's enough. We're leaving. No, I said firmly. Olivia is leaving with me. Olivia is my wife. She goes where I say. Olivia is my daughter, and she is not going anywhere where she is in danger. Danger? Robert let out a dry laugh. What danger? I give her a house, food, clothes, everything she needs. What more does she want? Respect, dignity, safety. I have her in a $500,000 house. That's enough respect. Mr. Armstrong intervened, siding with his son. Nerissa, you are interfering in a marriage. That is not done. Couples' problems are resolved at home, not in public. And when do those couples' problems end? When my daughter ends up in the hospital or in the cemetery. The silence that followed was deafening. Mrs. Susan let out a muffled gasp, but did not look up. She's being dramatic, Robert said. Dramatic? Look at her arm. Look at it. She fell. She fell? Yes, she's clumsy. She's always been clumsy. Olivia immediately nodded. It's true, Mom. I fell down the stairs. It was nothing. And these other marks. Did you fall too? Mom, how many times have you fallen, Olivia? Silence. How many? Her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. And then I saw something that completely broke me. I saw how Olivia looked at Robert, seeking permission to speak, seeking permission to exist. My daughter, my brilliant girl, the one who built birdhouses, the one who dreamed of creating safe spaces, now had no voice of her own. Robert approached her and put a hand on her shoulder. She immediately tensed. Honey, he said with that soft, dangerous voice, your mom is confused. Tell her we're fine, that we're happy. Olivia looked at me. Her eyes pleaded for forgiveness. We're fine, Mom. We're happy. Honey, is that the truth? It is not. It is. Her voice broke. Robert loves me. It's just that sometimes I make him angry, but he's working on it. He's going to therapy. Therapy? Yes. He started 2 weeks ago. He's trying, Mom. He really is trying. I looked at Robert. He was smiling. See, everything is under control. We are managing our problems like responsible adults. What kind of therapy? Anger management, he replied without hesitation. An excellent therapist. It has helped me a lot. And Olivia's arm. Was that before or after starting therapy? His smile wavered for a second. Before? Definitely before. He was lying. I could see it in his eyes, but Olivia defended his lie. It's true, Mom. Robert is changing. Give him a chance, please. Honey, this is not Mom. I love you, but this is not your decision. It's mine. And I choose to stay with my husband, with the father of my son. Those words pierced me like knives. Even if he hurts you, he's not hurting me. Not anymore. Olivia, Mom, please, just let it go, please. Her voice broke in a sob. Mr. Armstrong clapped slowly, sarcastically. Well said, Olivia. A woman with common sense. Not like these modern feminists who want to destroy families. I turned toward him. Mr. Armstrong, with all due respect, you and your way of thinking are the reason why women like my daughter believe they deserve to be treated like this. Treated how? With a roof over her head, with food on the table, with violence, with contempt, with control? That's not violence, that's marriage. Couples fight, that's how it's always been. No, that's not how it has to be. Well, in my house for 50 years, it has worked perfectly. I looked at Mrs. Susan again. She was still motionless, but I saw something in her eyes, something that wasn't peace. It was resignation. It was death in life 50 years. And suddenly, I knew I couldn't save Mrs. Susan. It was too late for her. But it wasn't too late for Olivia. I turned to my daughter. I took her hands in mine. Honey, listen to me. Listen closely. She was crying silently. I know you're afraid. I know you think you can't get out of this. That you don't have options. That no one will understand you, Mom. But you do. You have options. You have a house with me. You have your profession. You have your life ahead of you. I have a son, and that's exactly why. What do you want Matthew to learn? That this is how a woman is treated. That this is how his mother is treated. She turned pale. Robert would never touch Matthew. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what he's learning by watching you suffer. I'm not suffering. Yes, you are. I see it in your eyes. I see it in how you've stopped laughing, in how you've stopped dreaming. Dreams are for girls, Mom. I'm a married woman, a mother. I have responsibilities, and one of those responsibilities is to endure abuse. It's not abuse. Yes, it is. My voice resonated throughout the restaurant. Olivia flinched, and I knew I had lost her, at least for now. Robert stepped between us. I think that's enough for today, Narissa. Thank you for coming to dinner. But now, Olivia and I are going home with our son, our family. Robert, our family. Every word was a threat. Olivia stood up. She avoided my gaze. She picked up her purse with trembling hands. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean for this to happen. Honey, please, I'll call you tomorrow. Olivia. But she was already walking toward the exit, following Robert like a shadow. Mr. Armstrong left money on the table. A shame you ruined a family night, Narissa. But that's how meddling mothers-in-law are. They never know when to shut up. He left without waiting for a response. Mrs. Susan slowly stood up. For a moment, our eyes met. I saw 50 years of pain in her eyes, 50 years of silence, 50 years of unanswered questions. What if? She opened her mouth as if she were going to say something, but no words came out. She just turned and followed her husband. I was left alone at that table with the half-eaten plates, the empty glasses, the candles burning down. The server approached timidly. Mom, are you all right? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I felt like I had just lost my daughter, that I had done everything wrong, that my intervention had only made things worse. I paid the check. I left a tip. I left the restaurant. The rain had stopped. The air smelled of wet earth and something I couldn't name. Disappointment, perhaps, or fear. I walked to my car. I sat behind the wheel without starting it. I took my mother's handkerchief out of my purse. I pressed it against my chest, and I cried. I cried for my daughter, for her lost bravery, for the dreams she had buried, for the fear that now lived in her eyes. And I cried for myself, for not having seen the signs sooner, for not having acted sooner, for having trusted that a man's love would be enough to protect her. But love doesn't protect when it comes with fists. Love doesn't save when it comes with control. Love doesn't heal when it comes with fear. I drove home in silence that night. The streets were empty. The city lights flickered like fallen stars. I arrived at my house, the house where Olivia grew up, where she learned to walk, where she drew her imaginary houses on the garage walls. I walked in. Everything was dark, silent, too silent. I turned on the lights. I made tea. I sat in the kitchen with my mother's handkerchief on the table. My phone rang. It was a text message from Olivia. "Mom, I'm sorry. Please don't worry. I'm fine. I love you." I replied immediately. "Honey, my house is always open for you. Always. Anytime. I love you." I saw the 3 dots indicating she was writing. Then they disappeared. There was no answer. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what else I could do. How I could save my daughter when she didn't want to be saved. How I could make her understand that she deserved more. That she deserved true love. That she deserved peace. That she deserved to live without fear. But victims of violence don't see what we see. They see hope where there's danger. They see love where there is manipulation. They see a future where there are only repeated cycles. And sometimes, as much as we want to save them, they have to hit rock bottom before they can climb up. They have to touch the deepest pain before they find the strength to leave. That night, looking at the shadows on my ceiling, I knew the road would be long, that there would be more dinners, more lies, more bruises hidden under long sleeves. But I also knew something else. I knew I wouldn't give up, that I would still be there, that I would wait, because a mother doesn't abandon. Never. And when my daughter was ready to ask for help, I would be there with open arms, with a safe house, with the love that never comes with conditions. The phone vibrated again. Another text from Olivia. "Mom, please don't call the police. Please, it would only make things worse. Trust me, Robert is better." "I promise." My hands trembled over the phone. "Call the police, force her out, or wait. Trust that she would find her way." I replied, "I won't call anyone without your permission, but I need you to promise me something. I need you to call me every day just so I know you're okay. Can you do that for me?" The 3 dots appeared again. This time, they didn't disappear. "Okay, Mom, I'll call you. I promise." I closed my eyes. It wasn't enough, but it was something. A thin thread that kept us connected. A thread that I wouldn't let go of for anything in the world. Even if I had to wait years, even if I had to watch my daughter suffer, even if I had to bite my tongue 1,000 more times, I wouldn't let go. Because that's what mothers do. They hold the thread even when everything else breaks. I still wonder if I did the right thing. And you? What would you have done in my place? The days that followed were the longest of my life. Every morning, I woke up with a tight heart, checking my phone immediately, waiting for Olivia's message. Sometimes it came early at 7 o'clock in the morning. "Good morning, Mom. All good. I love you." Other times it came late at 11 o'clock, at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and I spent those hours in agony imagining the worst. Was she okay? Had he hurt her again? Had he crossed that line from which there is no turning back? The messages were always short, dry, lifeless, as if she were writing them with Robert looking over her shoulder. And she probably was. I tried calling her several times, but she never answered. Just text messages. "Sorry, Mom. Matthew's crying. I'll text you later." "Sorry, Mom. I'm busy with the house. Talk later. Sorry, Mom. Robert and I have plans. I'll call you tomorrow." There was always a reason. There was always an excuse. And I knew they weren't hers. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of cold messages and unanswered calls. 2 weeks of sleepless nights, hugging my mother's handkerchief, wondering what to do. I consulted with a lawyer specializing in domestic violence, a woman named Patricia with tired eyes and firm hands. "Is your daughter willing to press charges?" she asked me. "No. Do you have evidence? Photographs, messages, witnesses, the marks on her body, the scene at the restaurant?" "There must be people who saw. But is any of them willing to testify?" Silence. "Nerissa," Patricia said in a soft but direct voice, "I understand your pain. Believe me, I've seen hundreds of cases like this. But without your daughter's cooperation, legally you can't do much. Then what? Do I wait for her to end up in the hospital or worse? No. You wait until she's ready. In the meantime, you maintain communication. You let her know she has options, that she has support, and when she decides to leave, and believe me, that day will come, you will be there to welcome her. And if that day never comes..." Patricia looked at me with a mixture of compassion and realism. "Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But if you pressure her too much, you push her further away. The control he exerts over her is psychological. She needs to feel that she has power over her own decision. Even if that decision is to stay, how can I stand by and do nothing? You don't stand by and do nothing. You prepare. Document everything. Save the messages. If you see new marks, photograph them. Look for witnesses. And above all, stay close, because when she decides to leave, it will probably be fast and she will need you to be ready." I left that office with a folder full of information, restraining orders, shelters, helplines, legal protocols, and a huge weight on my chest. Because all of that required Olivia to say, "Yes, I need help." And she wasn't there yet. One afternoon, 3 weeks after the restaurant dinner, I decided to visit her unannounced. I knew Robert worked late on Thursdays. It was my chance to talk to her alone. I drove to their house, a beautiful house in an exclusive neighborhood. 2 stories, a manicured lawn, a fountain at the entrance, the kind of house that appears in magazines, but I knew what was inside. I rang the doorbell. No one answered. I rang again. Nothing. I was about to leave when I heard footsteps. The door opened just a few inches. Olivia poked her head out. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Her voice sounded scared. "I came to see you. Can I come in?" She hesitated. "Robert's not here." "I know. That's why I came." She looked back as if someone might be listening. "It's not a good time, Mom." "Olivia, please. I just want to see you, talk to you. 5 minutes." Her eyes filled with tears. "Mom, please." She finally opened the door. I quickly stepped inside before she could change her mind. The house was spotless. Too spotless. Like a museum, without life. The curtains were drawn, even though it was a sunny afternoon. The living room was dark. Cold. "Where is Matthew?" I asked, sleeping his nap. "Can I see him?" "Better not. If we wake him up, he'll be grumpy all afternoon." I nodded. We sat in the living room. She was on the edge of the sofa, hands in her lap, tense. "How have you been?" I asked. "Fine." "Really?" "Yes, Mom." "Really?" But her voice was trembling. I watched her closely. She was wearing a turtleneck sweater despite the warmth, long pants. Her hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, covering herself, always covering herself. "Honey, I need you to tell me the truth. I'm telling you the truth. Has Robert hurt you again?" She stiffened. "No, Olivia. No, Mom. I told you he's going to therapy. He's better. Then why are you afraid of me being here? I'm not afraid." "Yes, you are. I can see it." She stood up abruptly. "I think it's better if you leave." "Olivia, wait." "No, Mom. You can't just come here without warning." "Robert is going to get angry." "And so what if he gets angry because I live with him?" Her voice broke. "Because I have to live with him every day. And every time you do something like this, every time you interfere, it puts him in a bad mood, and I'm the one who has to deal with it." Her words hit me like punches. "Honey, I just want to help you." "Well, you're not helping me. You're making things harder." "Harder than what?" "Harder than living in fear." "I don't live in fear. You are trembling right now." She hugged herself. "Go, Mom, please." Before Robert gets home, he won't be home for hours. You don't know that. Sometimes he leaves early. Sometimes he checks the cameras. Cameras? She turned pale. Something had been revealed that shouldn't have been. What cameras, Olivia? Nothing. Forget it. Does he have cameras watching you? They're security cameras to protect the house. Where are they? Mom, where? She nodded toward the corners. I saw small discrete cameras in the living room and the hallway. How many are there? I don't know. Several. In the whole house. She didn't answer. In the bedroom, too. Silence. My God, Olivia, it's normal, Mom. Lots of houses have security cameras, and he checks them sometimes to watch you, to protect us. That's not protection. That's control. Stop, she yelled. Stop telling me what my marriage is like. You don't understand anything. Her scream woke Matthew. We heard him crying upstairs. Olivia put her hands to her face. Look what you did. You woke him up. Honey, leave. Please, just leave. She ran upstairs. I stood there in that dark living room, looking at the cameras in the corners, small eyes watching every movement. I felt nauseous. My daughter lived in a beautiful prison with glass walls and invisible bars, but a prison nonetheless. I heard her voice upstairs calming Matthew, that sweet voice she used with her son, the only time she sounded like the Olivia I knew. I wanted to go up, hug her, force her out of there. But Patricia's words echoed in my head. If you pressure her too much, you push her further away. So I did the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. I left. I walked out of that house. I walked to my car. I sat behind the wheel and I cried. I cried with rage, with helplessness, with a pain so deep it felt like it was tearing me in two. My phone rang. A text message from an unknown number. I opened it. It was a video from the security cameras at Olivia's house. It showed me sitting in the living room crying and below a message from Robert. Nerissa, I appreciate your concern for your daughter, but these unannounced visits upset Olivia a lot. They make her nervous. They cause her stress. For the sake of her mental health, I ask that you only come when invited. I hope you understand. Regards. I felt the blood run cold. He was watching me. He knew exactly when I'd arrived, how long I had been there, what I had said, and he was threatening me subtly. Politely, but threatening nonetheless. I didn't reply. I deleted the message, but I couldn't delete the fear. I drove home on autopilot. My mind was racing at 1,000 meters an hour. I arrived. I locked the door. I closed all the curtain sounds. I sat in the kitchen with my mother's handkerchief in my hands. What do I do, Mom? I whispered. What do I do when my daughter is trapped and I can't get her out? Silence was my only answer. That night, I researched surveillance cameras, coercive control, technological abuse. I found articles, testimonies, stories of women who lived under 24-hour surveillance, who couldn't leave without permission, who couldn't talk to anyone without being overheard. And all the stories ended in two ways. They either managed to escape or they ended up dead. There was no middle ground. The following days were hell. Olivia continued sending her daily messages, but now I knew that Robert probably read them before I did. I tried calling her several times. She never answered. I sent her messages asking if we could meet in a public place, at a cafe, in the park. I can't right now, Mom. Matthew's sick. I can't right now, Mom. I have things to do. I can't right now, Mom. Robert and I have couples therapy. There was always a reason. A week later, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered with a racing heart. Hello, Nerissa Caldwell. It was a woman's voice, young, nervous. Yes, this is she. Who is this? My name is Andrea. I was Matthew's sitter. My pulse shot up. Was? Yes. Robert fired me a week ago. Why? She hesitated. Because I saw something I shouldn't have seen. What did you see? I can't talk on the phone. Can we meet? I have something to show you. Yes, of course. Where? We agreed to meet at a coffee shop across town, far from the area where Olivia lived. I arrived 30 minutes early. I ordered a coffee that I didn't drink. I just waited, my stomach in knots. Andrea arrived on time, a girl in her 20s. Thin with brown hair pulled back in a braid, she looked scared. She sat across from me and looked around before speaking. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "Thank you for calling me. How did you get my number?" "Olivia gave it to me months ago. She told me that if anything ever happened, anything serious, I should call you." My heart stopped. What happened? Andrea took out her phone. She unlocked it with trembling hands. I watched Matthew 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Robert worked and Olivia needed help. I thought they were a normal family. A nice house, well paid, nothing strange. Until when? Until 2 weeks ago. I arrived early on a Thursday. I rang the doorbell, but no one opened. I had an emergency key, so I went in. I heard voices upstairs shouting. Her voice cracked. It was Robert yelling at Olivia. Horrible things, telling her she was useless, that she was good for nothing, that any other woman would do a better job than her. And Olivia, she was crying, asking for forgiveness over and over. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Tears started rolling down my cheeks. "I went upstairs," Andrea continued. "I shouldn't have, but I was worried. The bedroom door was open and I saw him. What did you see?" She showed me her phone. It was a photograph, blurry, taken quickly from the hallway but clear enough. Robert had Olivia against the wall, one hand on her throat, the other raised, ready to hit. Olivia had her eyes closed, her hands raised in defense. And in the corner of the room, sitting on his little bed, was Matthew. Watching, just watching, a 3-year-old boy witnessing his father abusing his mother. I felt the world stop. "Did he see you?" I asked in a trembling voice. "Yes, he saw me take the photo. He immediately let go of Olivia. He came downstairs as if nothing had happened. He told me they were arguing, that it was a couple's matter, that it wasn't my problem. And what did you say?" I told him I was going to call the police. He laughed. He told me no one would believe me, that it was my word against his, that Olivia would deny everything, and that if I tried anything, he would sue me for defamation. "Did you call the police?" "No, because Olivia came downstairs and I asked her if she was okay, if she needed help, if she wanted me to call someone." Andrea wiped away her tears and she told me no, that everything was fine. That they'd had an argument but it was resolved and she asked me to leave, that they no longer needed my services. "Olivia fired you?" "No, it was Robert, but she didn't say anything. She just stood there with red marks on her neck telling me that everything was fine." Andrea slid her phone toward me. "This photo is yours. Do what you have to do with it." I tried to help, but I can't do any more. I took the phone with trembling hands. I looked at the image again. My daughter against the wall. Hands raised, waiting for the blow, and my grandson witnessing it all. Can I send this photo to myself? Yes, that's why I brought it. I sent the image to my phone. I deleted the message immediately. "Andrea, would you be willing to testify? If this goes to trial, would you say what you saw?" She turned pale. I don't know. He threatened me. He said he has lawyers, that he would ruin me. "I understand, but if necessary, would you consider it?" She nodded slowly. "If it helps Olivia, yes, I would." "Thank you. Thank you for calling me, for trusting me. Olivia is a good woman. She doesn't deserve this." "No one does." Andrea stood up to leave, but before she did, she turned around. "One more thing. Matthew has started having nightmares. Olivia told me he wakes up crying every night, screaming, saying he's scared." "Scared of what?" "Of Daddy." Those 2 words broke me. Andrea left. I stayed sitting in that coffee shop looking at the photograph on my phone, the evidence I needed. The proof that these weren't just couples fights. This was systematic violence. This was abuse. And now it was affecting my grandson. I called Patricia, the lawyer. "I have evidence," I told her without preamble. "What kind of evidence?" "A photograph of Robert assaulting Olivia and a witness willing to testify. That changes things." "Does Olivia know you have this?" "No. Nissa, you need to tell her she has to agree to use it, and if she doesn't agree, then we still can't do anything." The victim has to want to leave. But my grandson, I know. But legally, without the mother's cooperation, it's very difficult to intervene. I hung up, frustrated. I couldn't sleep that night. I stayed looking at the photograph on my phone over and over until I memorized it, until it was etched in my mind forever. My daughter waiting to be hit and me still unable to do anything. 3 days passed since my meeting with Andrea. 3 days in which the photograph burned in my phone like a radioactive secret. 3 days in which every time I closed my eyes, I saw my daughter against that wall and my grandson watching, learning, normalizing. Olivia's messages still arrived punctually every morning. Good morning, Mom. All good. But now I knew the truth behind those words. I knew what all good meant in her world. It meant surviving another day. It meant not provoking. It meant making herself small, invisible, harmless. On Friday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Olivia. For the first time in weeks, she was calling me. I answered before the second ring. Honey, Mom. Her voice sounded strange, tense, but controlled. Can you come over tomorrow? Robert wants to talk to you. My stomach clenched. Robert wants to talk to me. Yes, he thinks we should clear things up, that there have been misunderstandings. He wants us to have a civilized conversation. And you? Do you want me to go? Silence. Olivia, do you want me to go, or is he forcing you to call me? Mom, please just come. Please. There was something in her voice, something that made my skin crawl. Are you okay? Yes, just come tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. Can you? Yes, I'll be there. Thank you, Mom. I love you. She hung up before I could respond. I stared at the phone with a bad feeling growing in my chest. Why did Robert want to see me? Did he know about the photograph? Did he know about Andrea? Or was it something else? I called Patricia. Nerissa, don't go alone, she warned me. If you go, take someone with you and keep your phone on recording if possible. Do you think it could be dangerous? I think a man who assaults his wife and then convinces her it was her fault is capable of anything. Be careful. That night, I prepared everything. I checked that my phone was fully charged. I downloaded an application to discreetly record audio. I gave my friend Carmen Olivia's address and told her to call me at 11:00 in the morning without fail. If I don't answer, I told her, call the police. Nerissa, you're scaring me. Just do it, Carmen, please. I slept little. I dreamed of Olivia as a child building her birdhouse. Birds need a safe place too, she would say in the dream. But when I looked inside the birdhouse, it was empty. The birds had left or had never arrived. Saturday dawned cloudy, gray, as if the sky itself anticipated what was to come. I dressed carefully, comfortable but dignified clothes. I put my mother's handkerchief in my purse. I checked that my phone was working and drove to Olivia's house. I arrived at exactly 10 o'clock. The lawn was spotless as always. The flowers perfectly aligned, the grass freshly cut, everything so orderly, so controlled like my daughter's life. I rang the doorbell. Robert opened the door. He was wearing an immaculate white shirt, dress pants, an educated smile that didn't reach his eyes. Nerissa, thank you for coming. Please come in. His courtesy put me on edge. I walked in. The house was dim again. Curtains closed, lights low. Olivia was sitting in the living room, wearing a gray turtleneck sweater and black pants, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked like a ghost. Hello, Mom, she said without standing up. Honey. I sat across from her. Cross. Robert sat down next to her, too close, with a possessive hand on the back of the sofa behind Olivia's shoulders. Where is Matthew? I asked. With my parents. Robert replied. We thought it was better to have this conversation without distractions. I nodded slowly. I discreetly activated the recording on my phone inside my purse. All right, Robert said, crossing his legs with a studied calm. Nerissa, we called you because I think there has been a series of misunderstandings between us. Misunderstandings? Yes, I know what you saw at the restaurant worried you, and I understand why. From the outside, it might have looked bad. But appearances are deceiving. It didn't look like an appearance. It looked like violence. It was an unfortunate moment. I was under a lot of stress. Olivia and I had argued all week about various matters, and I snapped. I admit it, but I have been working on it. So I was told, see, I am aware of my problems. I am going to therapy. I am striving to be better. But I need you to give me space to trust that we can resolve our problems without external interference. External interference. Your unannounced visit 2 weeks ago upset Olivia a lot. It left her emotionally distraught. And when she's upset, everything in the house becomes unstable. I looked at Olivia. She kept her gaze fixed on her hands. Honey, is that true? She nodded without looking up. Yes, Mom. When you came, it was difficult. Difficult how? Robert got angry. We argued. It was complicated. Did he hurt you? Mom, answer the question. Olivia. Robert intervened, his voice firm but controlled. Nerissa. These accusations are very serious and very unfair. I would never intentionally hurt Olivia. She is my wife, the mother of my son. I love her. Love doesn't leave marks. The marks you saw were from an accident. An accident? Yes. Olivia slipped on the stairs, grabbed the railing, and got those bruises. That's not true. Yes, it is, Olivia said quickly. I slipped. It was my fault. I was wearing socks and the floor had just been waxed. Honey, please don't lie to me. I'm not lying to you. Her voice cracked. Tears started to fall. Robert put a hand on her shoulder. She tensed but didn't move. See, Nissa, your accusations hurt her. They make her feel like you don't trust her, that you think she's incapable of taking care of herself. I don't think that. I think she's in danger. Danger? Robert let out a dry laugh. Look around you. This house is worth over $1 million. Olivia has everything she needs. Clothes, food, security. I work 60 hours a week to give her this life. Does that look like danger to you? Danger isn't always financial. Then what is it? Psychological, emotional. Nerissa, Olivia is fine. She's happy. She has a family. Why do you insist on creating problems where there are none? Because I saw the bruises. Because I saw you pull her hair. Because I saw the fear in her eyes. The fear of you, of your judgments, of your interference. His words were like slaps. I looked at Olivia. Is that true? Are you afraid of me? She sobbed silently. I just want my family to be at peace, Mom. Just that. And is it at peace? Silence. Robert stood up. He walked toward the window with his hands in his pockets. When he spoke, his voice was harsher. Nerissa, I'm going to be very clear with you. I appreciate that you love your daughter, but you are interfering in my marriage. You are causing problems, and I need you to stop or what? He turned around slowly. Or am I going to have to take legal measures to protect my family? Are you threatening me? I am informing you. If you continue to harass Olivia, if you continue visiting without permission, if you continue spreading rumors about me, I will file for a restraining order. A restraining order against her mother if necessary. Yes, for the emotional well-being of Olivia and Matthew. This is ridiculous. Is it? You have a history of unsolicited visits, constant calls, disturbing messages. A judge could see that as harassment. I'm her mother and I am her husband. Legally, I have more rights than you over the decisions of this family. Rage boiled inside me, but I knew I had to stay calm. Olivia, I said, ignoring Robert, look at me. She slowly looked up. Her eyes were red, swollen. Honey, I need you to tell me something, and I need you to be completely honest. Are you doing this because you want to, or because he's forcing you? Mom, just answer. Do you want me to stay out of your life? Tears rolled down her cheeks. I don't want you to suffer, Mom. I don't want you to worry about me. That's not the question. It's the answer I can give you. Her voice broke into a desperate cry. And in that cry, I heard everything. I heard the fear. I heard the resignation. I heard the defeat. My daughter was trapped, and she knew it. But she had made the decision to stay, to protect me by pushing me away, to sacrifice herself to maintain the peace. Robert sat down next to her again. I think that answers your question, Nerissa. Now, I'm going to ask you to respect your daughter's wishes. If she wants to see you, she will call you. But no more surprise visits, no more insistent calls. Give us space to fix our marriage, and if I don't, then we'll see each other in court." He stood up. The meeting was over. I didn't move. "Robert, there's something you should know." He raised an eyebrow. "What?" I took out my phone. I opened the photograph Andrea had sent me. I turned it so both of them could see it. Olivia turned pale. Robert remained motionless. The photograph was clear, brutal, undeniable. "This," I said with a firm voice, "is not an accident. This is not work stress. This is assault. And I have a witness willing to testify that they witnessed this moment." The silence was so dense I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Robert looked at the photo, then at Olivia, then at me and smiled. That frozen smile that gave me the chills. "Nerissa, are you trying to blackmail me?" "I am showing you the truth." "The truth?" "This is an invasion of our privacy. Whoever took this photo was in our house without permission. That is illegal. Andrea had a key. She had permission to be there. Andrea was fired for theft. Anything she says will be discredited." "Theft? You didn't tell me that, Olivia." Olivia was crying silently, hugging herself. "She stole money from my wallet," Robert said. "And when I confronted her, she made up this ridiculous story for revenge. It's her word against mine." "Who do you think a judge will believe? The evidence? What evidence? A blurry photo that could have been taken at any time in any context with no date, no time, nothing to prove when it was taken. There is the testimony of an employee fired for being a thief. Nerissa, if you take this anywhere, I will legally ruin her and I will sue you for defamation in the process. Do it. I don't care." "You don't? And what about Olivia? Have you thought about what this would do to her? A public trial? Her private life exposed, her name in the newspapers, her reputation destroyed. Is that what you want for your daughter?" I looked at Olivia. She was shaking her head. Terrified. "Mom, no. Please don't do this. Honey, please." She stood up abruptly. "Delete that photo. Delete it now. Olivia, this is evidence. I don't care," she shouted. "I don't want anyone to see it. I don't want this to come out. I just want it all to end." She collapsed onto the sofa, sobbing. Robert hugged her. She led him like a broken doll. "See, Nerissa, you are hurting her more harm than I ever could." His words penetrated me like venom. Was it true? Was I hurting her more by trying to save her? I looked at the photograph on my phone. Then I looked at my daughter destroyed. And I made a decision. "All right," I said slowly. "I'm not going to show this photo for now." Robert smiled victoriously. "I knew you would come to your senses, but I continued, raising my voice. I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to keep it. And if anything happens to Olivia, if she shows up with one more bruise, if she ends up in the hospital, if anything at all happens to her, this photo goes straight to the police, to the media everywhere. Do you understand?" His smile vanished. "That sounds like a threat." "No, it's a promise." We stared at each other. Two people fighting for the same woman, but with opposite intentions. He wanted to possess her. I wanted to free her. "Leave," he finally said. "And don't come back. If Olivia wants to see you, she will decide when and where." I stood up, put away my phone, approached Olivia, and knelt in front of her. "Honey, look at me." She slowly looked up. "Listen to me carefully. No matter how much time passes, no matter what he tells you, no matter what happens between us, my house will always be open for you. You can arrive any time, day or night, with Matthew or without him, and I will be there. Do you understand me?" She nodded without speaking. "I love you. Never forget that." "I love you too, Mom." I hugged her. I felt her fragile bones, her trembling body, her broken soul, and I had to let her go. I had to leave her there with him. I left that house with a broken heart. I got into my car, closed the door, and before starting the engine, I checked that the audio recording had worked. It had. Every word, every threat, every manipulation from Robert had been recorded. I didn't have the photograph as legal evidence, but I had his voice admitting that he had snapped. I had his threats. I had his pattern of control. It was something. It wasn't enough, but it was something. I drove home crying the whole way. That night, alone in my kitchen with my mother's handkerchief on the table, I understood something. I couldn't save Olivia. Only she could save herself. I could only be ready for when she made that decision. And in the meantime, I had to trust. Trust that the girl who built birdhouses was still in there. Trust that the woman who dreamed of creating safe spaces would find a way to create one for herself. Trust that the moment would come. And when it did, I would be there with open arms and with the necessary evidence to protect her. The months that followed were the darkest of my life. After that meeting, Olivia stopped responding to my messages as frequently. Sometimes 2-3 days passed without news. When she finally wrote, the messages were even colder, more distant. Hello, Mom. All good. Can't talk now. Busy. And I knew Robert was cutting the last threads that bound us, isolating her, separating her from everything that could give her strength to leave. I tried calling her. The messages went straight to voicemail. I tried visiting. No one opened the door. It was as if my daughter had vanished, as if I had lost her, even though she was still alive. December arrived with cold and rain. The holidays were approaching. Christmas, New Year's, dates we used to spend together. I sent Olivia a message. Honey, I would love for you to come to Christmas Eve dinner. You, Robert, and Matthew. I'll make your favorite dish, please. 2 days passed before she replied. Thanks, Mom, but we already have plans with Robert's family. Maybe on New Year's. New Year's came. She didn't come. She didn't call. Just a text message at 11 o'clock at night. Happy New Year, Mom. I love you. I spent midnight alone with a glass of wine that I didn't drink, looking at old photos of Olivia. Olivia as a child laughing. Olivia as a teenager graduating. Olivia as an adult at her wedding. Radiant. At what point had everything broken? At what point had I lost my daughter? January brought a biting cold and with it a call that would change everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the garden pruning the roses that Olivia loved. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up the phone. Hello, Narissa Caldwell. It was a woman's voice. Professional. Serious. Yes, this is she. This is Dr. Mendes from General Hospital. Your daughter Olivia was admitted this morning. The world stopped. What? She is stable, but we need you to come as soon as possible. What happened? Is she okay? My grandson, the child is fine. He is with Child Protective Services temporarily, but we need to talk to you. Can you come now? Yes. Yes, I'm on my way. I dropped the pruning shears. I ran to my car. I drove with my heart in my throat. General Hospital, floor 3, room 312. I took the stairs because the elevator was too slow. I arrived at the nurse's station, breathless. Olivia Caldwell. I am her mother. The nurse looked at me with compassion. Room 312. Dr. Mendez is waiting for you. I walked down that white, cold hallway as if walking through a nightmare. Outside the room, a woman in a medical coat was reviewing a file. Dr. Mendez. She looked up in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, tired but kind eyes. Mrs. Caldwell. Yes. What happened? Where's my daughter? She's asleep. We gave her sedatives. She was very distressed when she arrived. What happened to her? The doctor led me to a small private waiting room. She closed the door. Your daughter arrived in the emergency room this morning. Neighbors brought her. They say they heard screaming. When they went out to look, they found her in the yard barefoot with her son in her arms bleeding. My God, she has a fracture in her left wrist, contusions on her face, bruises all over her body, some recent, others from weeks ago, and the doctor hesitated. And what marks on her neck? Someone tried to strangle her. I felt the floor disappear beneath my feet. Did he try to kill her? I can't make legal speculations, but yes, the marks are consistent with manual strangulation. Another minute and she didn't finish the sentence. Tears began to roll down my cheeks. Can I see her? Yes, but she is asleep. The sedatives will keep her that way for a few more hours. I walked into the room and there was my daughter in a hospital bed, connected to monitors with bandages on her wrist, her face swollen, with purple and yellow bruises, a neck brace protecting her neck. She looked so small, so fragile, so broken. I sat next to her. I took her right hand, the one that wasn't hurt, with infinite care. "Honey," I whispered, "I'm here. I'm here now." She didn't respond. She just breathed slowly, deeply, lost in the induced sleep. I stayed there holding her hand, crying silently. Hours later, Dr. Mendes returned. "Mrs. Coldwell, there is something else you need to know." "What?" "Your daughter is pregnant, approximately 8 weeks." The shock was like a physical blow. "Pregnant?" "Yes, and given the circumstances, we are very concerned." "The pregnancy is high risk due to the physical trauma. We will need to monitor her closely." "Does she know?" "I'm not sure." When she arrived, she was in shock. She wasn't speaking coherently. She just kept repeating, "Protect Matthew, protect Matthew." "Where's Matthew?" "Child Protective Services has him temporarily. He is physically unharmed, but he will need psychological evaluation. He witnessed the incident." "What incident? What exactly happened?" The doctor showed me the report. According to the neighbors, they heard screaming around 6 o'clock in the morning. Robert yelling, Olivia pleading, Matthew crying. The neighbors called the police, but before they arrived, Olivia ran out of the house with Matthew in her arms, barefoot, bleeding, terrified. She ran to the neighbor's house and frantically knocked on the door. "Help me, please! He's gonna kill me!" The neighbors let her in and locked the door. Robert came out of the house minutes later. He pounded on the neighbor's door. He demanded they give him back his wife and son. "They are my family. You have no right to interfere." The neighbors refused. The police arrived. Robert, calm, polite, explained that it had been a marital argument, that Olivia was hysterical, that she had emotional problems, that she needed psychiatric help. But the marks on Olivia's neck spoke for themselves. They arrested him right there. Charges: aggravated domestic assault and attempted homicide. "Where is he now?" I asked. "In jail. His bail hearing is tomorrow. He cannot be released. He cannot approach her. We have requested an emergency restraining order, but we need your daughter to press charges. We need her to testify." "She will. I will make sure she does." The doctor looked at me with compassion. "Mrs. Caldwell, many victims of domestic violence drop the charges, especially when children are involved. And now with a pregnancy, the pressure will be enormous. This time is different." "He almost killed her." "I know, but the pattern of abuse includes remorse, flowers, apologies, promises of change, and many women go back. My daughter won't. I hope you're right. I stayed at the hospital that night. I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave her alone. I sat in that uncomfortable chair next to her bed and watched her sleep. My girl, my daughter, the one who built birdhouses, was now broken, but she was still alive. And as long as there was life, there was hope." Around 3:00 in the morning, Olivia began to move. Soft moans, fragmented phrases. "No, please, Matthew. Protect Matthew." I got up and went closer. "Olivia, you are safe. I'm here." Her eyes slowly opened, confused, scared. "Mom?" "Yes, honey, I'm here." "Where?" "Where am I?" "In the hospital. You're safe." She tried to sit up, but the pain stopped her. She moaned, "Easy, easy. Don't move. You have a fractured wrist." Her eyes filled with tears. "Matthew, where's Matthew?" "He's fine. He's safe. Child Protective Services is taking care of him. Robert in jail." She closed her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." "No, honey. Don't apologize. None of this is your fault. I should have listened to you. I should have left sooner. But I thought I could fix it. I thought if I were a better wife, if I were more careful, if I didn't provoke him." "Honey, no. Listen to me. Nothing you did or didn't do justifies what he did to you. Nothing." She sobbed. "He tried to kill me, Mom. This morning I told him I was pregnant and he went crazy. He said he didn't want any more children, that he couldn't control me with one, that with two it would be impossible. And then he grabbed me by the neck. Her voice broke into a choked cry. You don't have to tell me now. Rest. No, I need to say it. I need someone to know the truth. She took a deep breath despite the pain. He grabbed me by the neck and squeezed. I felt like I was dying. Mom, I saw black spots. I heard Matthew screaming. And I thought, my children are going to grow up without a mother. They are going to believe this is normal. They are going to repeat the cycle. But you didn't. You survived. He let go. I don't know why. Maybe he heard Matthew. Maybe he got scared. But he let go. And in that moment, I knew that if I didn't leave that house, I was going to die. Maybe not that day, but soon. You did the right thing, honey. I grabbed Matthew and ran. I didn't even put on shoes. I just ran, and Robert came out after me screaming, "If you leave, you'll regret it. I'll take the children from you. I'll destroy you." He can't do anything to you now. Are you sure? Her voice was so small, so scared. Yes, he's in jail. There's a restraining order. And this time you are going to testify. You are going to make sure he can never hurt you again. She looked at me with eyes full of fear. What if he gets out? What if he finds me? He won't. I'm going to protect you. You are coming to my house. You, Matthew, and that baby on the way. You are going to be safe. You know about the baby? The doctor told me. New tears. I don't know if I can, Mom. I don't know if I can bring another child into this world. Not after everything Matthew has seen. Matthew is going to be fine. You are going to be fine. We are going to heal together as a family. She clung to my hand. Do you really believe that? Yes, honey, I do. We stayed like that, hands intertwined, crying together. For the lost time, for the pain suffered, for the courage it took to leave, and for the hope that the worst was behind us. But deep in my heart, I knew this wasn't over. Robert was not one to give up easily, and the real battle was just beginning. The next day, early in the morning, a detective arrived. Detective Ramirez, in his 40s, serious gaze, notebook in hand. Mrs. Caldwell, is your daughter able to talk? Yes, but I need to be present. Of course. We went into the room. Olivia was awake. Looking out the window. Olivia, this is Detective Ramirez. He needs your statement. She nodded, nervous. The detective sat down. Olivia, I know this is difficult, but I need you to tell me in your own words what happened yesterday morning. Olivia took a deep breath and began to speak. She told him everything. The years of abuse, the threats, the control, the cameras, the isolation, and finally the attempted strangulation. The detective took notes without interrupting. When she finished, he closed his notebook. Thank you, Olivia. This is enough to maintain the charges. Robert Armstrong will face trial for aggravated domestic assault and attempted homicide. Will he get out on bail? I asked. His hearing is this afternoon. We are going to argue that he is a danger to the victim. With your testimony and the medical evidence, it is probable that he will be denied bail. Probable? Not certain. It's never certain, Mrs. Caldwell, but we will do everything possible. After the detective left, Olivia looked at me. Mom, I'm scared. I know, honey. What if he gets out? What if he follows through on his threats? He won't. Not this time. I took out my phone. Do you remember the photograph I showed you months ago? She nodded. I have it. And I have the recording of the meeting at your house where Robert threatened to sue you, where he admitted that he snapped. Everything is documented. Why didn't you tell me? Because you needed to be ready. And now you are. For the first time in a long time, I saw something in my daughter's eyes. It wasn't fear, it was determination. I'm going to testify, Mom. I'm going to make sure he pays for everything he did. That's the spirit. I took her hand. Honey, this is going to be difficult. There will be pressure. His family will try to make you change your mind. They will say you are destroying a family, that you should think about Matthew, that you should think about the baby. I have thought about them. That's why I'm doing this. So they grew up knowing that abuse is not tolerated, that women are not property, that we deserve respect. I felt my heart swell with pride. There she was, the brave woman I had raised, the one who built birdhouses, the one who dreamed of creating safe spaces. She had been there the whole time. She just needed to find the strength to leave, and finally, she had done it. Olivia spent 3 days in the hospital. 3 days in which I watched my daughter slowly transform, not back to who she was before. That would be impossible. No one goes back to being the same after surviving what she survived. But I saw something more valuable than lost innocence. I saw wisdom. I saw strength. I saw a woman who had touched the darkest bottom and had decided to climb up. Robert's bail hearing was on Wednesday. Olivia couldn't attend. She was still hospitalized. But I went. I sat in that cold courtroom surrounded by lawyers, relatives, people waiting for justice. And I saw him walk in, Robert Armstrong, with handcuffs on his wrists, orange prison uniform, but maintaining that arrogant posture, that look that said, "This is just a misunderstanding." His father was there, Mr. Armstrong, sitting in the front row in an expensive suit and an indignant expression. Mrs. Susan hadn't come. I wondered if she had ever had the choice. The judge entered. We all stood up. The prosecutor presented the case. Attempted homicide, aggravated domestic assault, documented pattern of abuse. Your Honor, the accused is a clear and present danger to the victim. He has the financial resources to flee. He has motive to intimidate witnesses. We request that he be denied bail. Robert's lawyer stood up. A man in his 50s, perfect tie, leather briefcase. Your Honor, my client is a respected engineer. No criminal record, strong community ties. This was an isolated incident resulting from marital tensions. My client is willing to undergo intensive therapy, to wear an electronic monitoring bracelet, to comply with any condition the court imposes. Keeping him in pretrial detention would be excessive. The prosecutor responded immediately. Isolated incident. We have photographs of previous assaults, witness testimonies, evidence of years of systematic abuse. The accused nearly killed his pregnant wife in front of his 3-year-old son. This is not marital tension. It is criminal violence. The judge listened in silence, taking notes. Finally, he spoke. I have reviewed the file. The photographs are disturbing. The victim's testimony is consistent. The strangulation marks are clear evidence of lethal intent. My heart pounded. However, the judge continued, the accused has no criminal record. He has constitutional rights to a fair defense. Therefore, I will set bail at $500,000 with the following conditions. Electronic monitoring bracelet, restraining order of 500 meters from the victim and her children, prohibition of direct or indirect contact, surrender of passport, and mandatory anger management therapy. I felt the world fall away. $500,000. Mr. Armstrong could pay that without blinking. The prosecutor objected. Your Honor, with all due respect, $500,000 is no obstacle for a family with resources like the Armstrongs. The accused could post bail and disappear. Objection noted, the judge said. But my decision is firm. The accused may be released on bail once all conditions are met. Next case. He struck the gavel. I left that room trembling. Robert was going to be released. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. And when he was released, he would come for Olivia. Not physically, maybe, but he would come. I ran to the hospital. I burst into Olivia's room, gasping. She saw me and knew immediately. Did they give him bail? Yes. How much? $500,000. Can his father pay that? I know. She put her good hand on her abdomen in an instinctive protective gesture. How much time do we have? I don't know. Maybe a few days, a week at most. Then we have to move fast. Move? Honey, you're still in the hospital. I don't care. I need to get out of here. I need to get Matthew back. I need to leave before Robert gets out. Leave for where? Your house. You said it would always be open to me. And it is. Of course it is. Then get me out of here, please. I spoke with Dr. Mendes. I explained the situation. Medically, she would need to stay at least 2 more days, she said. but I understand the circumstances. If she signs a document releasing the hospital from liability, I can discharge her today with strict instructions for arrest. I'll sign it, Olivia said without hesitation. Very well. I will prepare the paperwork. While Olivia signed the documents, I made calls to Child Protective Services to coordinate the reunification with Matthew. To Patricia, the lawyer, to prepare all the legal documents, permanent restraining order, request for full custody, divorce petition, to a locksmith to change all the locks on my house, to a security company to install cameras and alarms. I was not going to let Robert get near her. Never again. That afternoon, Olivia left the hospital, her arm in a sling, bruises still visible on her face, but with her head held high. I took her directly to Child Protective Services. Matthew was in a waiting room playing with colored blocks under the supervision of a social worker. When he saw Olivia, he dropped the blocks. Mommy. His shaky little voice broke my heart. Yes, my love, it's Mommy. Olivia knelt, ignoring the pain. She opened her good arm. Matthew ran to her and threw himself into her arms, crying, Mommy, 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 I'm here, baby, I'm here now. She hugged him tightly, kissing his head, his cheeks, whispering words of comfort. We're not going back to that house. Right, Mommy? Matthew asked in a small voice. No, my love. Never. And, Daddy? Olivia was quiet for a moment. Then, in a firm but gentle voice, she replied, Daddy did things that weren't right, and now he has to learn that that's not what you do. But you don't have to worry about anything. Mommy is going to protect you. Grandma is going to protect you. You are safe. Promise. Promise. She sealed it with a kiss on his forehead. The social worker handed us the temporary reunification documents. Olivia has emergency custody. Robert Armstrong is not entitled to unsupervised visits while facing criminal charges. If he tries to contact the child, call the police immediately. We signed everything, and finally, after days of nightmare, we went home. My home, which would now be their home. We arrived at nightfall. The locksmith had already finished. New locks, new keys, the security cameras were installed. They monitored the front door, the yard, the back access. Any movement would trigger an alert on my phone. I prepared the guest room for Olivia and Matthew. Clean sheets, soft towels, fresh flowers on the nightstand. Welcome home, honey. Olivia looked around with tears in her eyes. Thank you, Mom, for everything, for not giving up on me, for being here when I finally managed to leave. I will always be here. We had a simple dinner that night. Chicken noodle soup, toast, chamomile tea. Matthew fell asleep on the sofa at 8 o'clock. Emotionally exhausted, I carried him to bed. I put on his favorite pajamas that we had rescued from the house. I tucked him in carefully. Grandma? He mumbled, half asleep. Yes, my love, am I not going to have nightmares anymore? Maybe you'll still have some, but I'm going to be here. And your mommy too. And when you're scared, you call us and we'll come running. Is that all right? That's all right. I kissed him on the forehead. I left the room and found Olivia in the living room looking out the window. I sat down next to her. How do you feel? I don't know. Relieved, scared, angry all at the same time. It's normal. When does it stop hurting, Mom? I don't know, honey, but every day it hurts a little less. She leaned her head on my shoulder. There's something I need to do, she said after a long silence. What? I need to go to the house one last time. There are things I want to retrieve. Documents, photos of Matthew as a baby, some items that belong to Dad that he gave me before he died. Honey, that can wait. No, I need to do it before Robert gets out, before he changes the locks, before he destroys everything to hurt me. Then we will go together with a police escort. Can we do that? Yes. It's called property retrieval with police protection. Patricia mentioned it. You can request an officer accompany you to retrieve your things. I want to go tomorrow. Are you sure? I need to close that chapter, Mom. I need to take my things out of that house and never go back. The next day, we coordinated with the police. 2 officers would accompany us at 10 o'clock in the morning. Olivia had a list. Personal documents, birth certificates, photo albums, Matthew's clothes, some jewelry that had been my mother's and that I had inherited to her. the architectural drawings she had done years ago. "We will only have 1 hour," the officer warned us. "Take the essentials, no large furniture." We arrived at the house. That beautiful house with the perfect lawn and fountain at the entrance. That house that had been her prison. Olivia stayed in the car for a moment looking at it. "Are you ready?" I asked. "Yes." The officers opened the door with Olivia's key. We walked in. Everything was exactly as she had left it the morning of the emergency. Dishes in the sink, Matthew's toys on the floor, a half-finished cup of coffee on the table, as if time had stopped. Olivia walked slowly through the house, touching the walls, the furniture. "I thought this house was my dream," she whispered. "But it was my nightmare." We went up to the master bedroom. Olivia opened the closet, pulled out a large suitcase. She began to pack systematically essential clothes, documents from the safe, jewelry, photo albums. I helped her in silence. Then she found something, a shoebox hidden at the back of the closet. She opened it. Inside were more photographs that she herself had taken of her injuries over the years. Tens of them, bruises, cuts, marks, each one dated on the back in shaky handwriting. January 15th, 2022. He pushed me against the door. March 3rd, 2022. He pulled my arm hard. July 28th, 2022. He slapped me when I contradicted his father. Meticulous documentation of her own suffering. "Honey, why did you keep all this?" "Because deep down I knew I would need it someday. That someday I would have to prove it. I don't know. I think it was my way of not going crazy, of reminding myself that it was happening, that I wasn't imagining it. This is crucial evidence. I know." She put the box in the suitcase. We went downstairs to the living room. On the table was an envelope with Olivia's name written in Robert's handwriting. She took it with trembling hands. She opened it. Inside was a letter. She began to read it aloud, but her voice broke. I took the letter and read. "Olivia, I know you're angry. I know you hate me now, but you need to know that everything I did was out of love because I love you too much, because I can't live without you. Yes, I was wrong. I admit it. I lost control. But you provoke me too. You drive me crazy with your attitude, with your defiance, with your disobedience. If you had been the wife you promised to be, none of this would have happened. But there is still time. We can fix this. Drop the charges. Come home. We can go to therapy together. We can start over. Think about Matthew. Think about our baby. Do you really want them to grow up without a father? Do you want to destroy our family? I will forgive you if you forgive me. But if you insist on continuing with this, if you testify against me, if you put me in jail, you will regret it. I have lawyers, I have resources, I will fight for custody. I will prove that you are an unstable mother, that you have mental problems, that you are not fit, and I will win because I always win. The choice is yours, Olivia. Family or war are." The silence that followed was terrifying. Olivia was trembling. He's threatening me, even from jail." "Yes. And what if he's right? What if he takes the children from me?" "He won't." "How do you know?" "Because now you have evidence, you have photos, you have testimonies, you have his own letter admitting he lost control and threatening you. This is legal gold, honey. This proves a pattern of abuse and intimidating behavior." Olivia took a deep breath, carefully folded the letter, and put it in her purse. "You're right. I'm not afraid anymore. Are you sure?" "Yes." Her voice was firm now. "I'm not going to let him control me anymore. Not with threats, not with manipulation, not with anything." We finished packing. 3 large suitcases, 2 boxes of documents, the photo albums. The officers helped us load everything into the car. Before we left, Olivia stood at the entrance looking at the house one last time. "Do you want to go back in?" I asked. "No, I just want to remember it so I never forget, so I never go back." She took something out of her pocket, the house key, and left it on the mailbox by the entrance. "I don't need it anymore," she said, and got into the car. We drove back in silence, but it was a different silence. It wasn't the silence of fear. It was the silence of transformation. My daughter had entered that house as a victim for the last time and had left as a survivor. That night, while Matthew slept and Olivia rested, I received a text from Patricia. Narissa. Robert posted, He gets out tomorrow. I felt a chill, but immediately sent another message. We are ready. Let him come. We are not afraid of him anymore. And it was true because this time we had something he didn't expect. Evidence, determination, and the truth on our side. Justice would be slow, but it would arrive. Robert was released from jail on a Friday afternoon. I knew because the security cameras at my house captured an unknown car passing slowly in front of the entrance. 3 times. It didn't stop. No one rang the doorbell. No one got out. But the message was clear. I know where you are. Olivia saw the recordings and turned pale. He's violating the restraining order. Technically, no, Patricia explained over the phone. The order specifies that he cannot come within 500 meters. If he just drove down the street without stopping, he's in a gray area. Gray area? He's intimidating us. I know, but we need more solid evidence. For now, document everything. Every suspicious car, every strange call, every movement. And so we did. For the following weeks, we lived in a state of constant alert. Every noise made us jump. Every passing car made us nervous. Matthew had nightmares every night. He woke up screaming, looking for his mother. Olivia slept with him, hugging him, whispering that everything would be all right. But I saw the exhaustion in her eyes, the weight of living in fear. Then the messages began, not directly to Olivia. That would have clearly violated the restraining order, but through other people. His mother, Mrs. Susan, called her one day. Olivia. Put the phone on speakerphone so I could listen. Olivia, please. Robert is destroyed. He's not eating. He's not sleeping. He's just crying. Mrs. Susan, with all due respect, your son nearly killed me. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake, but he regrets it. He's going to intensive therapy 2 times a week. He's taking medication. He's doing everything he can to change. I'm glad he's getting help, but that doesn't change what he did. Olivia, think about your children. Matthew needs his father. And that baby you're expecting will need him too. My children need a living mother, and that's what I'm going to give them. Don't be cruel, Olivia. Don't destroy my son's life over a moment of weakness. A moment. It was years, Mrs. Susan. Years of abuse that you saw and never said anything about. Silence on the other end of the line. Because I know what marriages are like, Mrs. Susan finally said in a broken voice. I know that sometimes men lose control, but a good wife knows how to manage them, how to calm them down, how not to provoke them. Listen to what you are saying. You are justifying the violence. I am being realistic. That's the way the world is, Olivia. If all women reported their husbands, no family would remain intact. Then maybe it's time for the world to change. Olivia hung up, trembling with rage. 50 years, she said. 50 years of believing that abuse is normal, that it's her fault, that she has to endure it. And that's why what you are doing is so important. I told her you are breaking the cycle. The days passed. The trial approached. The prosecutor kept us informed of the process. Robert's legal team is seeking a plea deal. They offered to reduce the charges to simple assault in exchange for Olivia withdrawing the testimony about the attempted homicide. No, Olivia replied without hesitation. No deals. I want a full trial. Are you sure? The trial will be public. The media will be present. Your private life will be exposed. Let them expose it. Maybe that way other women will find the courage to leave. I felt so proud of my daughter in that moment. But Robert wasn't sitting still. He started a social media campaign, not directly, of course, that would also violate the restraining order. But his friends, his family began posting messages supporting Robert Armstrong in these difficult times. A good man being destroyed by false accusations. Justice for Robert. They posted photos of him with Matthew, old videos of family birthdays, images that made him look like the perfect father, the loving husband. The narrative was clear. Olivia was the villain, the liar, the one who was destroying a perfect family. Some strangers began sending Olivia messages. Shame on you. You are a bad mother. You are taking the father away from your children on a whim. Olivia read every message with tears in her eyes. Mom, what if they're right? What if I'm being selfish? No. Listen to me. Those people don't know what you lived through. They didn't see the marks. They didn't hear the threats. They didn't feel his hands on your neck. You know the truth, and that's all that matters. But Matthew asks about his father. He says he misses him. It's normal, but with time he will understand. He will understand that what you did was out of love to protect him. One night, 2 weeks before the trial, I received a call. It was Mr. Armstrong. Nerissa, we need to talk. I have nothing to talk about with you. It's about the future of my grandson. I hesitated, then accepted. All right, tomorrow in a public place. I choose where. Whatever you want. We met at a coffee shop in broad daylight with people around. Mr. Armstrong arrived alone, without his wife, without lawyers. He looked older than I remembered. Tired, defeated. He sat across from me. Thank you for coming. What do you want, Mr. Armstrong? I want us to talk like reasonable people without lawyers. Without judges. Just you and me. Talk, he sighed deeply. Robert is my only son. I raised him as best I could. I gave him everything. Education, opportunities, values. Values. What values did you teach him? That women are property, that violence is acceptable. He stopped. I taught him what my father taught me, that a man must be strong, that he must maintain control of his family. That's not control. It's abuse. Maybe. His voice broke. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe we raised a generation of men who confuse strength with cruelty. I looked at him with surprise. I didn't expect that answer. Why are you telling me this? Because I saw the photographs, Nerissa, the ones presented at the preliminary hearing, and I saw my son in them. I saw what he did, and I saw myself. He took off his glasses and wiped his eyes. For 50 years, I did the same to Susan. Not as severely, perhaps, but I controlled her, silenced her, made her small. And she endured it because she believed she had no options. And now I regret it. I don't know if it's regret or shame, or simply the belated understanding that I destroyed the woman I loved. He was silent for the moment. Susan is sick. Cancer, stage 4. The doctors give her 6 months. I'm sorry. Do you know what the worst part is? That now that I know I'm going to lose her, I realize I never really knew her. I never asked her what she dreamed of, what she wanted, who she was beyond being my wife. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I don't want Robert to end up like me, alone, full of remorse, losing his family out of pride. Then help him truly change. Not by paying expensive lawyers to free him, but by helping him recognize what he did, face the consequences, and heal. And Olivia, would you give my son a chance if he really changes? That is not my decision. It's hers. But I can tell you something. True change doesn't come after legal threats. It comes from genuine recognition of the harm caused. And so far, your son has only shown manipulation and victimhood. Mr. Armstrong nodded slowly. You are right. So what are you going to do? I don't know yet, but thank you for listening to me. He stood up to leave, but before he did, he turned. Nerissa, one more thing. Tell Olivia that I'm sorry for clapping that night at the restaurant, for saying she had to know her place. I am ashamed of those words. Now tell her yourself in a letter without demands, without manipulation, just an honest apology. I will. And he left. I told Olivia about the conversation. Do you think he's sincere? She asked. I don't know, but at least it's a start. At least he recognized that something is wrong. 2 weeks later, the day of the trial arrived. The room was full. Press, family members, curious onlookers. Robert walked in wearing an impeccable suit, his hair neatly combed, a serious but controlled expression. Olivia walked in wearing a simple blue dress without excessive makeup, without trying to hide anything. The marks on her face had already healed, but the invisible scars remained. The trial lasted 3 days. The prosecutor presented devastating evidence. The photographs Olivia had kept for years, the testimony of Andrea, the sitter, the medical reports from the hospital, the audio recording where Robert threatened to take the children from her, the intimidating letter he left at the house. And finally, Olivia's testimony. She took the stand with her right hand on the Bible. "Do you swear to tell the truth? The whole truth and nothing but the truth?" "I swear." And she told her story without crying, without drama, just the truth. Years of progressive abuse, economic control, social isolation, physical and emotional violence. The moment she felt his hands on her neck and thought she was going to die, the room was absolutely silent. Some reporters were crying. The jury listened with grave expressions. And Robert. Robert kept his gaze lowered. His lawyer tried to discredit the testimony. "Isn't it true that you provoked my client?" "No." "Isn't it true that you are also violent?" "Never." "Isn't it true that you are lying to gain an advantage in the divorce?" "I am not lying and I don't need to lie." "The truth is enough." The lawyer couldn't break her. Then it was Robert's turn to testify. He took the stand confidently. But when the prosecutor began to question him, something changed. "Mr. Armstrong, do you recognize these photographs?" He showed him the images of Olivia with bruises. "Yes. Did you cause these injuries?" Silence. "Mr. Armstrong, answer the question." I lost control sometimes." "Did you lose control or did you choose to be violent?" It was the stress, the pressure of work. She didn't understand. "So, you blame the victim?" "No, I take responsibility for my actions." "You do? Is that why you sent this letter threatening her?" He showed him the letter. Robert turned pale. "I was angry. You were intimidating a witness. That is a federal crime." His lawyer stood up. "Objection. Overruled. The witness will answer." Robert was falling apart in front of everyone. And I realized something. Abusers are only brave when they have power. When that power disappears, only cowardice remains. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, their verdict was unanimous. Guilty of aggravated domestic assault. Guilty of attempted homicide. Guilty of witness intimidation. The sentence was handed down 2 weeks later. 8 years in prison. No possibility of sentence reduction. Permanent restraining order, loss of custody, supervised visits only if Matthew, when he grows up, wishes to have contact. Robert listened to the sentence without expression. Then, just before he was handcuffed, he turned toward Olivia. "Someday you will understand that everything I did was because I loved you too much." Olivia looked him directly in the eyes, and with a firm, clear voice without trembling, she replied, "Love doesn't hurt. What you felt was not love, it was possession. And I will never again allow anyone to confuse the two things for me." Those were the last words they exchanged. They led him out of the room, and Olivia breathed. For the first time in years, she breathed without fear. Outside the courthouse, the media waited. Olivia gave a brief statement. "My name is Olivia Caldwell. For years, I was a victim of domestic violence. I kept silent out of shame, out of fear, out of believing it was my fault. Today, I am here alive because I finally found the courage to leave, because I had my mother supporting me, because I understood that my children deserve to see a strong mother, not a destroyed one. If there is a woman listening to me now who is in a similar situation, you are not alone. It is not your fault, and yes, you can get out. It's hard, it's terrifying, but it's possible and it's worth it." The cameras captured everything. The next day, her testimony was national news. We Are Olivia became trending. Thousands of women shared their own stories. Many found the courage to report. Shelters reported an increase in calls for help. My daughter had become a symbol. She didn't seek it, but she accepted it with dignity. The months passed. Olivia gave birth to a girl. She named her Valentina for the bravery she finally found. Matthew started therapy. Slowly, the nightmares subsided. He laughed again, played again, became a child again. Mr. Armstrong kept his word. He sent a letter apologizing. And more importantly, he stopped publicly defending Robert. He focused on caring for Mrs. Susan in her last months. When she passed away, Olivia attended the funeral, not for Robert, but for that woman who had lived 50 years in silence because she too had been a victim. And a year after the trial, something extraordinary happened. Mr. Armstrong published an article in the newspaper. It was titled "A Father's Letter to His Son in Prison." In it, he publicly acknowledged how he had raised Robert with toxic values, how he had normalized control and domination, how he had applauded abuse, believing it was discipline. "I was wrong," he wrote, "and my son paid the price. But more than anyone, the women around us paid it to all fathers. Teach your sons that true masculinity is not domination. It is respect. It is empathy. It is recognizing when you are wrong and having the courage to change." The article went viral, and Olivia, reading it, cried not out of sadness, but out of hope. Because if a man in his 70s could recognize his mistake, if he could change his perspective after a lifetime, then there was hope for the new generations. "Do you think Robert will ever change?" Olivia asked me one night while breastfeeding Valentina. "I don't know, honey. Maybe yes, maybe no. But it is no longer your responsibility to save him." "I know. I just hope that someday he truly understands the harm he caused, not for me, but for Matthew, so that if they ever meet again, it will be as different men." "It could be. And if not," she kissed Valentina's head, "at least my children will grow up knowing that abuse is not tolerated, that women deserve respect, that true love doesn't hurt. That's the best revenge," I told her, breaking the cycle. She smiled, and in that smile, I saw everything she had lost and everything she had gained, because justice is not always quick. But when it arrives, it restores more than legality. It restores dignity. It restores hope. It restores the belief that good eventually prevails, and that those who cause pain eventually face the consequences of their actions, not out of revenge, but out of balance, out of natural karma. Because that's how the universe works. What you sow, you reap. And Robert had sown violence. Now he was reaping loneliness, rejection, and the weight of his own decisions. While Olivia had sown bravery, and she was reaping peace. 3 years have passed since that night in the restaurant. 3 years since I stood up from that table and decided that the silence was over. Today is Sunday. The sun comes through my kitchen window, illuminating the table where Matthew is drawing with crayons while Valentina, 2 years old, tries to steal his colors. Olivia is making coffee. She moves with a tranquility I thought I would never see again. She no longer wears long sleeves in the summer. She no longer constantly checks her phone anxiously. She no longer apologizes for existing. She resumed her career as an architect. She works from home, designing spaces that, as she says, make people feel safe. Matthew is 6 years old now. He goes to therapy once a month, not every week anymore. The nightmares disappeared a year ago. Recently, he asked me about his father. "Grandma, was Daddy bad?" I knelt down to his level. "Your daddy did bad things, but that doesn't mean he didn't love you. It just means he was lost and he hurt the people he loved. And am I going to be like him when I grow up? No, my love, because you already know something that took him many years to learn. That strong men are the ones who protect, not the ones who hurt." He nodded and kept playing. "But I know those questions will return. And we will be ready to answer them." Robert is serving his sentence in a prison 3 hours from here. He has written letters, many letters. The first ones were manipulative, full of self-justification. Olivia read them and put them away without responding. But 6 months ago, something changed. A different letter arrived. "Olivia, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to even read this. But after 3 years of mandatory therapy, after rehabilitation groups for aggressors, after a lot of silence and reflection, I finally understand. I understand that what I did to you wasn't love. It was control. It was abuse. It was the result of believing I had rights over you. I was educated to think that being a man meant dominating. And when you showed strength, I saw it as defiance, as a threat. I was wrong. I'm not asking you for anything. I don't expect another chance. I don't want you to come back or to forgive me. I just want you to know that I take complete responsibility for the harm I caused, and that if someday when Matthew is older and wants to meet me, I will be honest with him about my mistakes, so he learns from them, so he doesn't repeat them. I wish you peace." Olivia showed me the letter. Do you think he's sincere? She asked. I don't know, but even if he is, that doesn't change anything. The forgiveness is yours to give or not give, and you owe him nothing. I know. But I think for the first time I can let go of the anger. Does that mean you forgive him? No. It means I no longer give him power over my life. He makes his decisions and lives with the consequences. I make mine and build my future. And that is exactly what she has done. Mr. Armstrong visits us occasionally. He is no longer the arrogant man I knew. Susan's death changed him deeply. Now, he dedicates his time to giving talks at universities about toxic masculinity and conscious parenting. If I can prevent even one father from raising his son the way I raised mine, he told me once, I will have done something good with the time I have left. This morning, as we drink coffee, Olivia looks at me with those eyes that now shine with their own light. Mom, did I tell you I was offered a new project? Which one? Designing a shelter for women, victims of domestic violence with safe spaces, play areas for children, therapy rooms. They want it to be a place where women can heal. Honey, that is perfect. Remember when I was a little girl and I built that birdhouse? Of course, I said that the birds needed a safe place. I think my whole life I've wanted to create those places, but I had to learn first that I deserved one too. She takes my hand. Thank you, Mom, for never giving up. For being there when I finally managed to leave. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Honey, you did the hard work. I just held the door open. But without that open door, I wouldn't have known where to go. We hug, and in that hug is everything. The pain of the past, the strength of the present, the hope for the future. Matthew approaches with a drawing. Mommy, look, it's our family. In the drawing, there are 3 figures, him, Valentina, and Olivia, and a large house with bright windows and a huge sun. It's beautiful, my love. See, this house has lots of windows, so lots of light comes in because there is no fear in the light. Olivia looks at me with tears in her eyes. Even the children understand darkness was where they lived, but light is where they are healing. Outside, the garden is blooming. The roses we planted last year are more beautiful than ever. Red, yellow, pink, full of life like us. If my story helps even one woman to open her eyes, to find the courage to leave, to understand that she deserves love without pain, then every tear, every moment of fear, every sleepless night will have been worth it. Because silence kills, but truth sets you free. And sometimes all we need is an outstretched hand, an open door, a voice that says, I believe you. You are not alone. You can leave. I was that voice for my daughter. Will you be that voice for someone else? Justice came not as revenge, but as natural balance. Robert lost his freedom, his family, his reputation. Olivia gained her dignity, her peace, her future. And we learned that true love does not control, does not hurt, does not destroy. True love sets you free, protects you, builds you up. This is my story. The story of a mother who didn't give up and of a daughter who found the courage to fly. Thank you for listening until the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and hit the little bell to hear more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Every day, one woman, one life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change an entire day. God bless you, and until next,